Hi everybody, this is Russ with the Emerald City Video Podcast, and it's Edward Norton's birthday. The acclaimed actor who has been in, well, you've seen him in everything. He's huge for keeping the faith, and everyone says I love you, and yeah, I know. But yeah, one of the things I thought would be cool, I'm trying to get a little bit more of this kind of short video / audio content together for the site, for the podcast. And one of the things I thought would be cool would be to go through my personal 5 favorite Edward Norton movies. These are not by any stretch of the imagination the quote-unquote best Edward Norton movies, and they're also not even the ones he's best known for, because you get things like The Incredible Hulk. But here are the 5 that if you were coming in an Emerald City Video and he said, hey, it's Edward Norton's birthday, I want to do an Edward Norton 5 for 5. Here are the 5 movies I would tell you to rent. First off, Fight Club. I talked actually about this last night on my 7 favorite films. If you haven't seen that and you have any interest whatsoever, it's just a little further down on the Facebook queue and you'll see it. I'm not going to talk at length about that other than to say one of the things that Edward Norton did great in Fight Club that's kind of underrated is the ability to play a really deep and thorough performance of somebody who looks like they don't give a shit. Being depressed and being exhausted, he's a copy of a copy of a copy. And that's a really hard thing to pull off and still be as impressive as he was in that movie. Next up, The 25th Hour. Holy shit. The 25th Hour is one of those movies that absolutely blows you away. It's a great fucking film, but also, like, everybody in it is spectacular. Edward Norton gives probably the best performance of his career. The conceit is Edward Norton is playing a drug dealer who has one day before his sentencing hearing, and he's going to go off to prison for many, many years. And he spends basically most of it, trying to figure out who it was that blew him in so that he can have some kind of revenge. Just a powerful, emotional movie. It's kind of doubled down on the fact that it was shot in New York almost immediately after 9/11. It's one of the first movies that I remember, like big movies, that was shot all on digital so that way they could turn it around super fast. And it's directed by Spike Lee. Everybody in this movie was great, but Edward Norton blows them all off the screen. And if you watch this movie and you don't fall in love with Rosario Dawson, you're probably not into women. Next up, The People versus Larry Flynt. This is a weird one because early in his career, this is one of those things that everybody really dug. Most people have forgotten about it by now, but Milos Forman, who also did The Man on the Moon and Amadeus, did The People versus Larry Flynt. I'm a huge fan of his work, and I'm a huge fan of this movie. It's one of those weird things. I love when big, marketable movie star types do the weird little political movie. I loved when John Cusack was in Bob Roberts and Cradle Will Rock. Bill Murray and Cradle Will Rock, stuff like that. Ed Norton in this movie, he plays Larry Flynt's lawyer. It's obviously based on a true story. Basically, he's the guy who helps defend Larry Flynt and then later on file a countersuit against Jerry Falwell and the religious right. But just a really strong movie. It's one of those ones I really feel bad that it's kind of forgotten because I think that his performance in it was really good. Woody Harrelson's just over the moon in this movie. He's fantastic. So absolutely something you should check out. Next up, Primal Fear. Primal Fear, unfortunately, it's forgotten, and probably for good reason. It's a movie that, like, similar things have been done a bunch of times. Ed Norton plays a man who's kind of mentally challenged, and obviously that's always a kind of a gimme for a big name actor to play that role and kind of get some attention. However, the way that he interacts with the rest of the story is what really informs it, almost in a with a Sling Blade kind of way, like where it's more interesting, not so much his direct performance, but the way his performance affects those around him. The last thing that I have to say is Death to Smoochie. Death to Smoochie is this weird, hilarious, crazy, over-the-top movie where he stars opposite Robin Williams. And he's basically Barney the dinosaur, and Robin Williams is the guy who Barney the dinosaur knocked off of the children's airwaves, and Robin Williams wants to kill him. It's hilarious and it's insane, and I can't even begin to tell you how much I love this movie, even though objectively it's terrible. So yeah, those are the 5 I'd give you if you came into Emerald City Video. Happy birthday to Edward Norton, and hey, if you have a favorite movie of his that I did not mention, put it in the comments below. Thanks so much.